Okay, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's Thursday, May 26, 2022, Ross Board of Education, regular meeting. Mr. Frazier, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Van Winkle?
Yes.
Mrs. Webb?
Here.
Mr. Kleinfelder?
Present.
Mrs. Hayes?
Here.
Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we review? I have one request on the agenda too. I'm going to make a switch.
Okay.
I'll let you go ahead. Let's review the agenda if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. So just to recap the agenda, there's two presentations tonight. One from our athletic department, one from G Foods. There is an FCCLA. They qualified for nationals, and there are 4 students that are going to attend with Mrs. Vining. I believe that's in California. There's also an MOU for revised or updated starting and ending times next year for the schools. Those will be published online. We have lunch prices for next year that will be board approved. We also have a revised school calendar. Next, we have the REA, the collective bargaining agreement was ratified by our teachers union, so that is for your approval. There's also an admin salary schedule on the agenda. There are some personnel items, and it looks like Mr. Frazier has a 5-year forecast to be board approved. So those are the highlights of the agenda tonight.
All right, the only other change we'll make is we're going to flip the presentations, if you don't mind.
Okay.
We'll do G Foods before athletics.
Perfect.
Mr. O'Neill deserves that ranking.
All right, I like it.
We do have one public participation from Penny Webster. Do you want me to read it, or do you just want to
I
say
can say it. Thank you for the microphones. I've been to the last 2 meetings. I've heard about 1/3 of what was said. This is great. I hope you get the feedback straightened out, but
Yep.
thank you.
Just to piggyback on that a little bit, Penny, is we're filming our board meetings too. They're not live because we're trying to work through some of the things, and it will be uploaded YouTube on Ross Ram's website. And I think that's it with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, thank you for noticing that.
I suggest.
Oh, you did? Hey, whatever it takes. I like it. So with no further ado, we have G Foods. Come on
Neil,
up.
you're up. Thanks for coming, guys. Let's turn me on.
There's that handheld mic there. Where is it? Right next to the projector.
Wow. There you go. Wow, there.
Oh, hang on a second. There you go.
Wow, thank you. While they're getting connected, I want to take the opportunity to say thank you to the Ross Board for supporting my program over these last 21 years. I know we've done some unconventional things, and they have never denied me to do what we do with these students and programs. Everything from going to China and South Africa, the United Nations several times. Thank you for all that support. We greatly appreciate it. And one of the things that comes out of our programs is G Foods, from all the entrepreneurship we do. Hopefully most of you know them, so I'm going to let them take over.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. Hello, everybody. We are G Foods, a student-powered nonprofit that focuses on rescuing food and distributing it to people in the community who need it. I am Gus Laval. I'm the market director here at G Foods, and this is Elaine and me.
Hi, I'm the Ross coordinator and finance director for G Foods. And so today we're just going to kind of give you a general overview of what we are and what we've been up to for the past year. We presented a year ago, and so lots of things have changed, and we're excited to share our new adventures with you. So just kind of a general interview of what we do in our community. In our community, there's about 17% of the population that's in poverty. And so with this, that's about 35 million Americans worldwide as well. But at the same time, there's over 40% of the food in the nation that's wasted. And this contributes to about 9% of the global CO2 emissions. So with this, there needs to be a change. And that's where G Foods comes in.
Born out of a Ross High School classroom to combat this UN challenge that was presented to us, G Foods partnered, well, these students partnered with this group from South Korea through IBECA to create this business or a solution to the problems of food waste and poverty in the world, really. And through that partnership, G Foods, applicable business model for anywhere that there's food waste, it was born in that classroom. And from here, we devised this business model that would be focused on this, what we call a 3-seed approach to solving the issues of food waste and poverty in communities. And through this, we would be focusing on supplying volunteers with the ability to educate themselves on food waste and food management, thus giving them education for potential jobs in the future, and ergo boosting and helping the economy in the process. So G Foods is basically built around this food rescue software that allows volunteers to go and rescue food, which means picking it up from farmers, grocers, restaurants, conference venues, and then transporting that to nonprofits and other food banks that are able to distribute it out to people in those specific targeted communities that there's a plethora of people who need that food. We've also focused on large-scale recoveries in the past, especially through our USDA Farmers to Families program, which was during the height of COVID-19. During this, we had these large semis coming in, mainly to the band lot over there at the high school, where we had volunteers that ranged from student volunteers to adults that would come in and offload these semis, and then from there, that food would be transported through different, just hundreds or lots of cars that came into these distributions throughout the program, and then from there it would be transported to nonprofits and other food banks that can really use that food to help people. Additionally, we also focus on rescuing food from farms that have, let's say, like vertical farms, lots and lots of farmland, not always the ability to use that food that they make. So food that's maybe left out there for a while. Right here has an amazing corn gleaning that was about 2 hours of picking corn from a cornfield. That was a lot of fun, but we got, as you can see, lots and lots of corn. And from here, we would use this food and then transport it to, next slide please, Elena, to our food pantries or different nonprofits that can really use it. Our food pantry right here at the admin building, we partner through with RAM, and we just really focus on maximizing this food and taking this food that would otherwise be just ending up in Rumpke or something, and really making it have a difference in our community, giving it to people who really are hungry and need it.
So through all of our endeavors and our rescues and all that stuff, we've rescued about 5.9 million pounds of food to date. And so this equivalates to about 2.8 tons of carbon emissions that have been rescued from our landfills, which is quite amazing. And since we started in about 2017, we've had a 200% growth within the past about year to year and a half. So when we started in about 2017, we were, or I guess at the end of 2018, we were at about 2,000 pounds of food rescued. We jumped up to about 20,000 pounds at the end of 2019. Then we had a huge growth going into at the end of 2020 with the addition of the USDA Farmers to Families program, which put us a little bit over 1 million pounds. Last year we did about 5 million pounds, and then this year we're already at 5.9 million pounds. So our goal by the end of the year, and possibly even by the end of the summer, is to rescue about 6 million pounds of food. And with this food, we also serve about 75 nonprofits that range from anywhere from Ohio to the Appalachians in Kentucky and Indiana. So these are organizations including churches, pantries, nonprofit relief groups, all kinds of different areas that we try to serve the best that we can. And the unique part about our organization is we're students. So we're able to go and travel to different places that many other nonprofits or student organizations may not be able to. So a couple highlights that we've gone to. Mr. O'Neill kind of mentioned earlier, we've gone to Durban, South Africa with an organization called SAGE, which is Students for the Advancement of Global Entrepreneurship. And so through this competition, we actually won first in the nation and the world back in 2018. And then we competed again in 2019 and in 2021. We've also gone to places such as New York for the United Nations. We've gone to Seattle for a changemaker or a student entrepreneurship competition. And then we've also gone to Pennsylvania as well. And so from here, we know that we can't stop what we're doing now. Once students graduate, obviously we're going to be losing the valuable assets and mindsets of those students. So we know that we have to keep this tradition going and keep introducing it to younger students. So with this, we're currently working on a lot of programs of recruiting. So we are going not only into, obviously, our freshman and senior classes at the high school, but we're looking into the middle school, into the 8th grade class that's coming up. We're looking into other schools in the area, such as Baden, Mason, Monroe. All of these students that have the potential to change the world, we just know that we're able to get to them and to help them fulfill that. Some other things that we're working on are our office space. As we began to grow as an organization, we realized that we were also growing out of our old space. And so to combat this, we did quite a bit of searching, and we finally found a home this past year. And so we have officially moved into downtown Hamilton near Germantown. And so we have about 4,000 square feet of space that we're using for office space. We're using it for warehouse space, and then eventually we're hoping to renovate it so it kind of is a more modern office space for students to use.
Additionally, we're also working on these projects that we've devised that would combat very specific problems that we've seen through the years that we've been in G-Foods. So first off, one of the biggest problems here for students at Ross High School is that not all of them really get the nutrients that comes along with a good quality breakfast. So to combat this, we've made up this maroon mocha, which we serve every morning to the students who come into the Ross High School. Coffee drinks and just free breakfast items that they're able to eat and get a good start to the day through. Additionally, we're also working in the innovation team on this mobile market. The mobile market will be mainly designed to go into these communities that there are a lot of people who are maybe in a food desert or are food insecure, which means they don't have access to a food bank or a place to get good quality food. And we would give them free or reduced food items through this mobile market. Additionally, we also have this fruit orchard, which was just recently planted right over there by the science classrooms by us a couple weekends ago, I believe. And through this, we are looking to get these yields of fruits, which we would be then giving to food banks and also in our ferry and food pantry, to just people who would really appreciate it. So as we conclude, we would like to have a gigantic thanks to people, especially like Mr. O'Neill here, of all the wonderful years that you've given to us of just guidance and wisdom and really just great support to G Foods. So if we could just do a quick little round of applause for Mr. O'Neill. I know you don't like the recognition, Mr. O'Neill, but you really do deserve it. And also the Board of Education, as he said, and our Board of Directors, and just all the supports that we've had. But if there's anybody who would like to give a little bit more to the community or help us do that ourselves, there's always the ability for you to become a food rescuer, which through that you would just sign up through the Food Rescue US software, which is a big partner of ours, and then that would help you to go and, like I said, food rescue, just collect that food, transport it to a nonprofit or a food bank that could really use it, and then that's it. You just transport that food and call it a day, and you help the community and you help G Foods. Thank you very much, and have a good night, everybody.
Do you have any questions before we end?
Maybe I missed it. What does G mean?
G stands for Jobs, Education, and Economy. So it's technically an acronym rather than an actual name. So that's kind of why we have that name.
And what grade are you in school?
I actually just graduated yesterday, and then Mr. Laval is a rising senior.
You did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Mr. Kleinfelder?
I just want to say I'm very impressed. I remember the early days of Michael Rivera, and then the Levi Grimm years, and then Elena. I can't believe she's graduated. I was with her in San Francisco on when they made a presentation out there. it's just amazing to see her now and hear this presentation from them. It was good then, but now it's, she's grown a lot. I think a lot of accolades go to, I know Mr. Neal doesn't like it, but the quality of students and keeping the machine going and hearing that they got an office now, they got a van, I see semis back there. I mean, it's unbelievable how a concept and an idea in a contest took off and has now developed into a pretty powerful nonprofit in the Hamilton area. So it's amazing. Great job. And you too, Gus.
Mrs. Hayes, do you have anything?
I just fantastic. I watched you guys for 2 years. 2 years I've been on the board. I think you guys keep growing.
To piggyback a little bit off what Keith said, like in 2018, I mean, some people, maybe me, I don't know, maybe not, but you're thinking this might be a one-hit wonder in all that you did, but it seems like it is growing and growing and growing. And all the data was so impressive, but this is the reason why I kind of wanted to film our board meetings. Not because of us board approving policies, whatever, because of this right here. And I can go home to my wife and tell her, you need to watch this, just like what we did with the RIS last week. But the public speaking that you guys have is amazing. You didn't use notes, you know your stuff, and Mr. O'Neill would never let you use notes, but you guys know your content, you're very, very educated in it, and it's extremely, extremely impressive. Extremely impressive. And plus, Mrs. Webb was in a couple of those pictures. Do you have anything?
No, I mean, the same thing that everybody else has said. I mean, what turned in, I mean, just was started as an idea and a competition, and in 2018, winning World Cup was just absolutely amazing. And I just so much appreciate that you guys are just keeping that momentum going, and you are truly change agents for the community, and it just keeps growing, and I am so amazed. And I am so saddened to lose Mr. O'Neill to retirement, because if it were up to me, he would be here forever. So, but thank you for all the work that you have done with these kids, and obviously everybody can see just how impressive they are. And I mean, you can publicly speak better than probably 90% of adults out there. So just truly amazed and impressed with you, and thank you for all the work that you're doing.
And Mr. O'Neill, not to put you on the spot, I'm sure you're going to be somewhat involved.
Oh yeah, I'm the only thing that's going to change for me is I won't be in the classroom every day.
Yes, so you'll still be involved with this crew.
Still work with these
Absolutely.
companies and entrepreneurs, yes.
Yeah.
How many people do you think you've fed?
Our statistic is about 50,000 families. So I would say probably around 75, being that most families have multiple people or kids or that kind of thing.
Anybody else have any questions for these guys? All right, thank you so much.
You wanted Jake to fall back, right?
Yeah.
That was smart. Good job, guys.
Thank you. That's so impressive. Holy smokes.
Mrs. Webb and I sit on their board, so
Yeah.
we're
Hopefully you guys just gather away a little. They're good.
And yes, I am going to follow this. I don't know how well. I think Mrs. Webb was referring to me as maybe part of that 10% who wasn't as good of a public speaker. But Gus, Elaine, and Mr. O'Neill, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for the impact that you have on real people outside of these walls. That's what it's all about. That's why all of the educators in the room, in this building, in this community do what we do. And so thank you for having that impact, and best of luck as you guys move forward.
Thank you.
So I've been warned by a couple of our community members here to keep it brief. In my, I think Mr. Bossi referred to it as my Twilight speech here. This will be the last time that I present to this board as an athletic director. and then I'm going to jump into curriculum director role and start preparing that presentation, which will look much different. But thank you, as always, for having me here. Love talking about what we do in the Ross Athletic Department. I'm extremely proud of what we do in the Ross Athletic Department and in this community through interscholastic sports. And that's the reason you guys have seen this now so many times. Our mission as a department is to maximize learning opportunities for student athletes across all ages, K through 12, and through all sport. That's our purpose as an educational institution, and we stick to that purpose through everything that we do. So, brief recap of the spring sports season that is actually still ongoing. We'll talk about that here in a second. For our league finishes, we had baseball finished in second, track and field third and fifth, middle school track and field fourth and second, softball third, tennis third, and I know there aren't champions on that board, but as I've stressed over the 4 years I've been in this role to our programs, the wins and losses are not what define us, and I will stick to that until the cows come home. And I've said this before, and I've been mocked for it, but I don't really care if we go 0 for 27 in the baseball season. If our people are doing it the right way, if they're focused on the learning that our student athletes engage in every single day, the wins and losses take care of themselves. And so I'm proud of what our spring athletes have done. I'm proud of what our spring staffs have done. We had a great year once again, following a 2020-2021 year that was really, really tough to follow up. Last year was the best year, I believe, on record in this athletic department. This year was just as good. We had a great run. We did finish. I stopped looking at it. This is actually Mr. Martin's domain, is to look at the All Sports Trophy. But I think we finished third by 5 points, 7 points maybe. So first was Harrison, second was Talawanda, and then we came in a close third. But very proud of our athletes across all seasons. Some of the OHSA tournament highlights. This is where we're still ongoing. Baseball had a tough opening round loss. Softball avenged their regular season defeat to Baden by beating them in a very exciting game in that first round, and then lost to a great Taylor squad in the second round. Tennis, our doubles teams both won matches, and once again, I've said this every year too, along with the state funding model, the state divisional alignment is broke. It's broke. I know the word's broken. I'm an English guy, but this stuff has been broken for a long time. And so our tennis players going up against the Masons, the Sycamores, the St. X's of the world is just ridiculous. And yet our doubles teams and our singles players actually fared very well against some of the best players in the state. And then track and field, if you follow the athletic department on Twitter, you will see that Maya Bose competed yesterday in the regional prelims. There was some controversy there. She had to rerun an event that she shouldn't have had to rerun, but she reran it, and she reran it faster by about half a second than she did the first time. Maya Bose is just a tremendous athlete. She's fun to watch. She'll compete again tomorrow for a chance at going to the state competition. We've already booked our hotels. We're that confident. I probably shouldn't say that publicly, but probably just jinxed it. But she's going to be fun to watch the next couple of weeks as she hopefully heads to Columbus. You guys have also seen this many a time, and this is the root of everything that we do in the athletic department. This is our culture blueprint. I show you this because we took this actually to our league, and we used our culture blueprint. We used what we do in the Ross Athletic Department to help run our leadership summit for the league. And so practically speaking, we went to the SWAC Leadership Summit. We ran every activity. We led the leaders in the room. And that was in April. The focus was building and maintaining a culture of growth through interscholastic athletics, so middle school and high school sports. We had 7th through 11th graders from every league school but one. and just a terrific response from our league attendees. Our kids were fantastic. I challenged them before we got there at the Butler County Educational Services Center. I challenged them to actually be engaged with kids from the other schools, and that's difficult, especially for a 7th, 8th grader, 9th grader even. That's very difficult. You'll see them on the field of competition. That's a little different. Having to sit across the table from somebody you don't know, from any stranger in the community, and talk to them about what we do is a very difficult thing to do. But like Elena and Gus showed, our kids rose to the occasion, and they were tremendous. And so we were very proud of them with that. Turning the page to funding, I know things look bleak. That's probably an understatement right now. But I'm happy to report that we are still engaging in creative funding in the Ross Athletic Department. Case in point, this past weekend we hosted our inaugural what's called a Liftathon, and it's a pledge-based fundraiser in which our student athletes go out and secure pledges from community members, family members, Rams fans, and then they come into our weight room, and they perform 2 lifts. They perform a bench and they perform a squat, and based on the pounds that they amass in both of those lifts, they then go back to their pledges or their sponsors, and if a pledge promises 10 cents per pound, they then calculate it and give them a check for whatever the amount is. Now, we use this as kind of a minimal viable product, and so there wasn't a whole lot of planning and participation this first time through, and that was by design. Okay, so we kind of went light on it just to see what it looked like. And we'll talk here about the weight room renovation here, and the two go hand in hand. Our goal this year was to raise enough money to cover the expense of the audio-visual resources in our weight room renovation. And I'm happy to report, I think, according to Mr. Frazier, we far exceeded that mark. We raised over $3,000. And once again, it was very little planning and participation by design. Our goal from year to year is going to be to raise at least $7,500 through Liftathon efforts. And the whole goal of that is to basically self-fund our strength and conditioning programs. Not only equipment and other resources in the actual space, but also hopefully at some point personnel. Because at this point we still have our coaches doing the lion's share of the work in terms of strength and conditioning. So speaking of the weight room renovation, and I think board members, you'll get a chance to tour that facility next week. But it has undergone a massive change, and I've got some pictures to prove that. The pictures do not do it justice. I think several board members have referenced the student presentations that we heard in the sports medicine class last year, and it was a great source of panic for me personally, because I'm sitting in that room listening to our students' tremendous presentations that were directly pointing the finger at us for having a subpar, in fact, dangerous weight room situation. And so we took it very personally, and we worked to make this change. So that's what our old weight room space looked like. You can't really tell, but there's rust on everything. There are dumbbells over here in the corner on the floor that are literally falling apart. So we've got people doing overhead dumbbell work, and fingers crossed that one side of that dumbbell doesn't drop down and right on their head. So that's what the old space looked like. So last Saturday, this is a picture of the football team, mostly some other athletes sprinkled in from other programs. But Coach Cummins brought in some football players, and there's a semi-truck parked out here, and a guy with it was like a NASCAR pit crew, came in and just took this stuff apart, and our kids carried it out, put it on the truck, and off they went. And that was all part of the funding model. So he went and I think resold that, and that took the price tag for us down. So this was the demo, if you will. And so these are various stages of the renovation, which have happened over the last week. Literally over the last week. mean, we're talking about 7 days, 10 days maybe, since that equipment left. And so you can see new paint, new ceiling tiles, took out the floor here.
Can we point out that's, are you
The
going to point out
people?
who's, yeah, the people, do you mind?
Yes. Yeah. So this is, and there's a slide listing this, but that is Nick Brown, community member.
That's Coach Lane, looks like he's in a union job here.
That's Coach Lane after doing some serious manual labor.
He's holding,
Yeah.
shoving.
So Nick Brown, we calculated actually today, and I'll talk more about this when I show the next slide. But we calculated that he volunteered 35 to 40 hours on this project over the last 10 days. I'm talking like I'd show up to work and his van would already be parked out there, and he'd be in there busting his butt, knee pads on, getting after it. Coach Lane joined for some of that fun, as did other members I'll show you here in a second. So that's the new space. Okay, so drastically different. Obviously no equipment in it yet. The equipment shows up on Tuesday, but this is the new floor, and that was almost single-handedly Nick Brown. His sons came and helped, hump the tiles in and out of the room, and he just finished that today.
The tiles are black.
The ceiling tiles are black, which is a really cool effect, as you guys will see here once we finish it next week. And the walls are gray, really good color scheme. Special thanks to this body here, the Board of Education, for your support in this project, and to the Ross Local School administration for all of the support to make this happen. We do realize that we are in we're walking a financial tightrope here, but we were able to reduce the cost of this project much of the way because of the manual labor involved. It was almost entirely internal up to this point. So Ross Athletic Boosters also donated $15,000 right off the bat. So they helped defray that cost as well. And then once again, the Liftathon participants and sponsors, mostly encouraged by our coaches, our wonderful staff. And they leverage the relationships they have in the community to get people to participate in yet another fundraiser, which our community does. They rise to the challenge and they support our students. And so we are very appreciative of that. And huge thanks to, I put him in bold, I was hoping he'd stick around to hear this. He can watch it on the YouTube. He loves to do that. Justin Beck, Assistant Athletic Director, going to be the Athletic Director taking over this summer. I've teased Justin throughout this entire process, calling this his baby. And it very literally was his baby. We talked more than I've talked to anybody in the last couple of months about this project, and he cares very deeply about this project, and it's evidence of the type of person that he is, that he cares so much about providing our kids in our community with great resources. And we're also, we never forget that this is also a curricular space. I mean, we're going to have students in there morning till night, working with this equipment in this new space. So huge thanks to Justin for spearheading this, and it's only a sign of what's going to happen with him at the helm in the athletic department. Thank you to the custodial staff. Dale Vangan's he's in there right now, putting down baseboard. Joe Ogborn, Devin Huff, Ron Johnson, among others who helped at various times. And then once again, our volunteers did this out of the goodness of their heart because they believe in what our student athletes do. They believe in what our athletic programs provide for our kids in terms of learning opportunities. Thank you so much to Nick Brown, his sons Rowan and Aiden, and I'm sure the rest of his kids and his wife Shannon had a lot to do with this, certainly by allowing him and his boys to come down here for all those hours and make this happen. Thanks to Coach David Lane, our basketball coach, and then Coach Cummins and the football team, and all of our other coaches in our programs who've been involved in the design of this, who've been involved in the implementation of this, and who will certainly be involved in the use of this new space. And at this point, I'll close with kind of a forecast of the future of Ross athletics. I know we're getting ready to go through some adversity. We're there already. We know that. Everybody in this room knows that. But I'm happy to report that the athletic department is going to be in great hands. I have full faith in Mr. Beck, Mrs. Mingus Hook, and all of the other supporting cast that are going to continue to provide the best possible learning opportunities for our student athletes and our families. And once again, we're all on the same page. Our culture is what will sustain us through this adversity. I fully believe that, and I have faith in what our kids and our community will do through this athletic department transition. With that said, Board of Education, thank you so much for your support over my tenure as the athletic director. I look forward to taking over as the curriculum director. Very excited about that. Returning to academia is something that I'm really excited about. And I've got friends who are like, "What are you doing? Like, gonna now read books for?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna read books. I'm going to, because I love it, and I can't wait to get back connected to the classroom again." I'm very excited about that opportunity, so thank you for that as well.
Mrs. Webb, do you have anything?
No, Jake, I just want to say that, your name wasn't up there on that last slide, and I know that you were also instrumental in this, so thank you for, everything that you've done. Thank you for presenting this to us as well and sharing with the public, and thank you for your service as athletic director, and looking forward to future presentations in a new role.
It wasn't listed here, but you guys, they're going to do maybe a weight room dedication.
Yes.
In June, or you want to talk about that? Or go ahead.
Yeah, so the weight room has long been dedicated to a close family friend in a community legend, Mr. Tony Henson, and we will unveil a new dedication here. The timing's going to be, I've been in communication with Anthony, it's Tony's son, and his other son, Brian, trying to organize that at this point. But it will still be dedicated to Tony because of his efforts and his dedication to our community, to our kids.
Tony was a booster president.
Yes.
Passed away
in 2000. Yeah.
And again, thanks for your efforts as the athletic director. I mean, there's two major things that I think that were tremendous accomplishments in the athletic department. One was the student leadership. It started at the high school, it's trickled down even to my kid in 4th and 5th grade, the SALT program. I gave that story about my daughter picking up at the Lakota West and East game. She was picking up trash because SALT said that's what you should do. So that program all alone was amazing. And then the K-12 model was actually implemented. I mean, a lot of people talk about it, and I've been in a lot of different schools and say, hey, run a program. No, you run it 9 through 12. I think our coaches, with your leadership over the last 3 or 4 years, truly do look at that K through 12 model, and I think that's really important. So thank you for that. And again, to echo what you said, Justin's probably painting or doing something down there, but Justin is a very hard worker, and so with you leaving, I mean, obviously I feel great about Justin's opportunity as well. He's going to do a great job.
Absolutely. So I'm excited to report, and this Dr. Conker, you can back me up on this. One of my first questions when we started talking about curriculum was, can we implement some of the leadership stuff that we do through the Student Athlete Leadership Program across the district, because I think that's vitally important with our kids all the way down. K through 12, it's so important that we teach our kids some of those intangible skills and obviously the concrete skills that they need to go out and become the Elena Meads, the Gus Lavals, the Riley Harvilles of the world. They need those skills starting at day one. And so I'm very passionate about that, and I'm committed to making sure that we embed that in our curriculum across the board.
Yes, sir. It's a great idea. Heather?
When you're last.
I started with Mr. Kleinfelder a bunch today, so that's why I'm going to.
I just echo.
Yeah.
It's like a repeat. Congrats, and we'd like to see what happens for curriculum and the ideas you bring forward.
Kleinfelder?
Yeah, just thanks Jake for leading the athletic department these last couple of years, and look forward to you leading the curriculum department.
Not to identify one sporting team, but Coach Luckett, what she did with softball, a situation she was put in, being hired late, and the passion she put into it, just following it and hearing people talk, and that was great. That was really good.
Yeah. And that's all her. I mean, it was such a hectic spring with the rainouts. I mean, it was. I think it's a broken record at this point, but it felt like the worst spring I've ever experienced as a coach, as an athletic director, involved in sports at all.
Yeah.
And for her to step into that role, literally past the 11th hour, and do what she did with that program, and to hear the feedback from kids and families alike, it's so impressive. And so kudos to her and her staff.
So Maya Mose's numbers, because you know, I mean, you already know. I mean, where does she stay? I mean, last year she finished
third
in the
300
state.
in the 300 hurdles. I'm not going to make a prediction. I learned long ago not
Just
to.
where's the numbers? That's what we were.
Her numbers as of Friday, which was the district meet that we hosted, she had posted the #1 time in the state in the 300 hurdles. Now that was before the district championships across the state were finished, and so I didn't look back at it. But she is legitimately a contender in both races, and she just started running the 100 hurdles, which it's 6 inches higher. She just started running that this year, and so I'm getting excited. I mean, just thinking about it, I can't wait to see what she does.
That's exciting.
I just got one thing. So, Jay, can you talk about, and Jeremy, you too, so the weight room is not coming out of the general fund. I think it's important that the community understands that. So what's the total cost of the weight room, and where is it being funded from? Because I think that's very important moving forward.
So the cost of the weight room, we're looking all in, probably somewhere in the range of 75 grand, I would say.
That's the number we came up with today, looking at some of the changes that we had to make.
And that's what I talked with Mr. Beck today, and that's the number he gave me, and I'm following that right along.
And that's
that is PI money. I think it's really important. Obviously it's not general fund dollars, it's PI money, so it's not the gloom and doom that I showed earlier. It's a different funding model, but I think it's really, really important that we recognize Mr. Beck and Jake about what they did to get that number as low as it was. I mean, when we started, just the weights were almost 110,000. Just the weights. They got that number. I mean, it was almost cut in half through them talking to vendors and getting multiple quotes and negotiating things and going to the boosters and getting a substantial investment from the boosters of $15,000 and getting the community involvement and the in-kind labor and materials and those types of things. I like a good deal just as much as anybody else. I think everybody knows that here. And this was a substantial deal that those two fellows worked out, and I'm extremely proud of that. So excellent job.
We use it all day too. That's what I mean. Right.
Right. We'll use it all day, and this is a facility we've been kicking this can down the road for decades. Those racks that we showed on that first slide are hand-me-downs. I actually lifted on those racks when I was at the University of Cincinnati back in 2003. I lifted on those very racks. And then UC passed them on to a school, passed them on to another school, and then we said, we'll take those.
Well, it's a safety issue too.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
It had to be done.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Jake.
Good job.
Thank you.
Dr. Kunkel, you got a few things to recommend here?
Yes, sir. I'm going to block items C through I, but I just want to highlight a couple items. And these items will be on the website tomorrow. So there is an MOU in front of you for the starting times and ending times for next school year. We did have to adjust some times, 5 or 10 minutes. So the high school next year will start at 7:20 a.m. and go to 2:10. Again, these times will be on the website tomorrow. RIS in the middle school will be 8:15 to 3 p.m. And the 2 elementaries will be 9:20 to 3:50. And again, we had to adjust times based on our transportation routes. Again, those will be on the website tomorrow. Lunch prices are asking for your approval. As we know that items have gone up. Food has gone up 20% this year or next year. Paper products are going up 30%. So we did raise lunch prices by 25 cents. That will be that's for your approval. And then there is a revised school calendar for you. We went from 176 student days down to 171. So there are 5 less student days for this calendar, and that was part of the negotiations with the teachers union. And speaking of the teachers union, that's also the collective bargaining agreement was ratified by our teachers, and that is also on the agenda for your approval. So those are the highlights of items C through I for your approval.
Can we get a motion to approve under superintendent recommendations, letters C through I? Can we get a first, please?
Motion.
Mrs. Hayes. Can we get a second?
Second.
Mrs. Webb. You guys any questions? Okay, Mr. Fraser, could you call the roll?
Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mrs. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Kleinfelder?
Yes.
Mr. Van Winkle?
Yes. We'll move on to treasurer's reports and recommendations. Mr. Fraser, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have several items up for approval tonight. I'd like to block A through I. Those items are the approval of a new cash account for a FAFSA grant that we received, the approval of a new cash account for a supply chain funding for food service that we have received. We will be updating the budget for our special ed federal grant to go along with what is out there on the federal grant website as far as the dollars and where those are allocated. The investment report, we have a couple then and nows. The treasurer reports, which include the cash summary report, the cash flow analysis, the 5-year forecast. We have a few donations out there, and then a resolution to approve amounts and rates that are determined by the Budget Commission.
Okay, can we get a motion to approve A through I under treasurer's reports, please? Can we get a first?
Motion.
Mrs. Hayes. Can we get a second?
Second.
Mr. Kleinfelder? Mr. Fraser, could you please call the roll?
Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Kleinfelder?
Yes.
Mrs. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Van Winkle?
Yes. And before we go to the next thing, which is the Butler Tech report, I want to take us back to, thank you, Mrs. Hayes, by the way. I want to take us back to number 5, which is the approval and correction of the minutes as they were presented. We didn't vote on that. Oh, that's I apologize. So can we get a motion, a first, please,
Motion.
to approve? Thank you, Mrs. Hayes. A second?
Second.
Mrs. Webb, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Kleinfelder?
Yes.
Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mrs. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Van Winkle?
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to Butler Tech report. Really fast one. The board meeting was really quick because we had graduation the night before. Graduation this year was at Cintas. We graduated from Butler Tech 674 students. Another highlight at the board meeting, Tom York, the Edgewood representative for Butler Tech, received an honorary FFA degree through the state, which is really nice for Tom and for Butler Tech as well. Magnifying Giving, which at the all boards meeting, we had a young lady from Ross that took this challenge on, Magnifying Giving. Happy to announce through our treasurer at Butler Tech that she raised $3,759.34. And what they do with that is they pick some nonprofit needy organizations and disperse that money. And she's a Ross student, did a great job, plays softball for the Ross team as well. What you have in front of you, I put in front of you is it's full throttle. It's a flyer. It's colored. Full throttle is something Butler Tech is taking. We were talking. Amy and I were talking to Mr. O'Neill before this. Just some of the things that Butler Tech does, thinking outside the box for students is really second to none. So, Full Throttle, a group of students in the automotive class was in contact with a race car driver in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. And I'm assuming that's dirt racing. And asked if they could rebuild this gentleman's car. So they took his car, brought it to Butler Tech, and stripped it all the way down to basically a frame. And they rebuilt the engine, they rebuilt the frame, they put this brand new paint job on it, they did everything for this new car. And to take it a step further, the students also went out to get sponsors for the car that they will put stickers and stuff all over this car to not only the upkeep for the racing, but also the entry fees and everything for this gentleman is going to be taken care of through the Butler Tech students. They're doing a fundraiser, which I put in front of you. It's on August 6th, where you can go and sit in the car and see the car. And it's amazing. So that is something Butler Tech is doing as well. Other than that, that was it. The meeting was, like I said, extremely quick. Opposite of this one. Does anybody have any questions for Butler Tech report?
Can we get a ride in the lab?
I don't. Yeah, I'm sure though, for $500 they'll let you do anything. Probably driving, maybe. The guy did wreck it coming out of the gate, but they fixed it. So I think the kids were excited about it because they had to do more to the car. We'll move on to legislative report.
I'm also going to be very short. I'm a little disappointed that Chad didn't announce this as one of the highlights of the meeting. He picked G Foods and somebody else instead of mine.
Was it legislative report? You should have moved that.
Just real quick, the Ohio Superintendent of Instruction is a brand new Stephen Dakin. He was a former Ohio Board of Education member. He resigned and then was picked out of a pool of 6 other superintendents and got that vote 14-4 earlier this month. State Board of Education also approved, Tracy Wright mentioned it, the Dyslexia Guidebook. This is going to put some pressure on schools K-3 to do screening for dyslexia, which is one of the major learning barriers to being an excellent reader, transversing letters and things like that. So we're going to have to come up with a screening plan for that. And then any child that is identified as dyslexic will have a individual education plan that's specific to dyslexia only. So just another couple of things, hoops that people are going to have to jump through. I'm sure that's probably funded through some way, but unfunded mandate, I'm sure. A couple of things in committee that are going to come out. House Bill 583 is going to continue with the relaxed substitute teacher guidelines through 2024 because there still is a statewide shortage in substitute teachers, and they're just going to keep that pretty much the way it is and kind of extend that 2 years. Another bill that's pending out there, and this is one that I've experienced several times as a principal, but it's hard to believe. House Bill 554 is a measure that's going to allow teachers that inadvertently or accidentally let their teaching certificate license expire, they're going to put them on a two-year probation program and make them jump through some hoops to get it back instead of just saying you've lost it for good because you didn't do what you were supposed to. And I'm sure the local professional development committees didn't tell these people 24 times that their license was up, but somehow it still happens. I had it happen with 2 teachers as I was a high school principal, despite them being told several times. It's just one of those things, I'll get to it, I'll take those classes this summer. Next thing you know, the new school year runs around and you're not licensed after July 1st. So they're going to give them a break there. And then another House bill dealing with medical issues is House Bill 606, which is students that have active seizure disorder diagnosis. We're going to have to come up with an individual seizure plan for those students, and every teacher that has contact with that student will get a copy of that plan and what to do if he has a seizure, or him or her, so that you're aware of it. It is kind of, if you haven't seen that or experienced that, it is kind of a stressful time if a student has a seizure and you're kind of caught unaware. So anybody that has contact with that, it will be beneficial. I'm surprised that's not already an issue. And that's it. Any questions?
No questions? The NIL thing got voted down.
Yeah, well, that was Ohio High School Athletic Association. If you're not familiar, the principals voted about 600 to about 300 to vote down where name, image, and likeness. There was a referendum in the Ohio High School Athletic Association that was going to pay student athletes for their name, image, or likeness if it was used anywhere in the athletic department, or if some car dealership wanted to sponsor Johnny Jones as their athlete and give him $10,000 for shopping at a Ford dealer, whatever. Well, the Ohio High School Athletic Association, through the principals in the referendum, voted that down. A couple of people have come out saying that they, were supportive of it. Scotty Kaufman, the AD at Lakota West, or in some. I think it's a slippery slope we don't want to get down. If you've been paying attention to sports world, Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher are going at it over their college deals. I don't think it's something that we need to have in high school. I'm glad the principals make that choice.
Very surprising that the National Federation approved it, which is crazy. A lot of times that follows shortly after, so it may not go away. You have the Big Buell's Athlete of the Year, I guess, or something. So, Amy Webb, let's go around the board. 5 minutes, please, or less than 5.
The only thing I got is we had the opportunity last night to attend graduation, and it was a beautiful commencement ceremony. Went off without a hitch. Excited to see the graduates. I love the decoration of the caps. I think that's just I know, shows character and uniqueness. And thank you to everybody that was involved in that process. I know it's a huge undertaking. The people sitting in the audience, they get to come and watch that, but there's a lot of planning and a lot of effort that goes behind that. And want to wish all of the 2022 graduates good luck in their future endeavors, and don't be strangers.
I agree with Amy's sentiments again about the graduation. That was great to watch that. And then also just wish everyone a safe and healthy summer, and we'll see you next year.
Mr. Kleinfelder?
I thought it was like, the 7th best graduation in history of Ross High School.
Something.
First 6 were.
The graduation rate, you mean?
Yeah. No, it was great. Glad they got it down. Got a couple just personal things that I had issue with, but not negative. Just it's the same 30 kids stand up and down 4 or 5 times. It drives me crazy. It drove me crazy when I was here. You want them to be recognized. I don't know how there's a way to fix it, but it takes, 20 minutes of the ceremony, and it's the same. It used to be worse because there was not only honors diploma, there was award of merit, and 3 other state awards. It's trimmed down some, but I want the kids to be recognized and all that, but it's a little tedious part of the ceremony.
See,
Other than that, it's perfect.
I think something more important than your thought would simply to put a rug on the thing they walk up. I think that's more important than not recognizing
Well,
them.
those handicap ramps were a little clunky.
It was, it's amazing. Mr. Martin and his staff have that down to a science. It's, so real quick for me, was you finished, Mr. Kleinfelder?
Yes, so far.
My son had awards at Morgan I don't even know what today is, Tuesday, and then RIS had it today. They do, the principals and the staff do an excellent job at those award ceremonies. And also again to echo the senior class, wish them nothing but the best. I absolutely love driving around Ross and seeing senior signs in yards and stuff like that. I just think that's really, really, really neat, so.
You have to chime in though.
We're on stage talking about, like, there's gotta be a bullhorn somewhere in any graduation you go to, you
There
hear.
wasn't.
No air horn.
Or air horn, but there was, but it was after. We followed it home.
Oh, you did?
And they were honking at everybody.
Kind of giggle and, like, it was just neat, because everybody that went by, he like totally graduated.
No, we did have a 3-year-old WrestleMania match going on, which was kind of fun and neat. But yeah, so, and then since these are video, the one kind of plug I wanted to put in is, with the levy coming up, if you have any questions, concerns, please see Dr. Kunkel, Jeremy Frazier. We'll do everything we can to answer those questions, and so people, when they go in that booth, they have a clear understanding at what's at stake. So, with that being said, we have no reason to go into executive session, so we'll take a motion to dismiss the meeting. Go first. Can we get a first to dismiss the meeting? Mrs. Hayes, second.
Second.
Mr. Frazier, can you call the roll?
Mr. Van Winkle?
Yes.
Mrs. Webb?
Yes.
Kleinfelter.
Yes.
Mrs. Hayes.
Yes.
So special board meeting June 3rd,
June 3rd.
8:30 a.m. at the building.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you want